Are you all having a horrible time?
Yes.
Oh, very good. There's nothing like a story about warm bodies on a cold, damp October Hoosier night to get your blood pumping. Now, if you were here earlier, you realize that we had a variety of questions for Sammy Terry. And I need one person, in fact a little person, to help me out who would like to win some free stuff. Are there any little people that would like to win some free stuff? No one likes free stuff in Indiana. That's never been found before. You come right over here in the blue coat. Yes, you. Be careful of the cords, for they might twist around your feet like snakes and drag you under. And tell me, what is your name?
Chloe.
Chloe, turn around and face everyone here. Now, Chloe, were you here for my last stage show?
No.
Well, then you're not going to do very good on this one. But perhaps your fiends out here in the audience can help you along. Chloe, do you have any clue who I am?
Sammy Terry.
Well, very good. And have you ever seen any of my television shows or my DVDs?
No.
But you will on Halloween night, won't you?
Yeah.
Because right behind you on that sign, it shows that on Halloween night at 10 p.m. when you're back from trick-or-treating, you're going to turn on WTTV Channel 4 and watch me present a horrible movie called Night of the Living Dead. And you'll be watching, won't you, Chloe?
Yes, I will.
Oh, very good. I know you will enjoy it. You see, Sammy Terry has been around Indiana for a very long time. Many of these ancient people out here in the audience remember me when they were your age. And they all know things about Sammy Terry that you're going to have to answer. For you see, you and I are going to play a little game, like a game show. Is that okay? Oh, very good. It's going to be called Spooky or Kooky. You see, if something is spooky that I say, that means that it's true. And if you think that it is false, you're going to say it's kooky. Do you understand?
Yes.
Very good. And do you go to school?
Yes.
You haven't graduated yet?
No.
Well, what grade are you in, Chloe?
I'm in 4th.
In 4th grade. And what school do you go to?
Harney Elementary.
Very good. And what is your favorite subject in school?
Science.
Ooh, science. That's very wise to be good in science in today's world. Tell me, someday when you're all grown, do you want to do something with science?
Maybe.
Well, if you do, I suggest you find a cure for zombies. For you see, love doesn't always cure everything, does it? Are you ready to play Spooky or Kooky with me?
Yes.
Now, if you'll remember, there used to be a game show on TV where they gave extra little chances to ask the audience questions for help. These questions, you may have to ask the audience for help, but what you're going to have to do, Chloe, and you've got so many people to choose from, if you need help with a question, you're going to have to point to someone and they're going to have to help you determine if it's spooky true or kooky false. Do you think you can do that?
Yes.
Very good. The first question of 5 questions, and you have to get 3 of them right in order to win a Sammy Terry DVD movie. Are you ready for your first question?
Yes.
Your first question is this. Sammy Terry has a pet that lives in my dungeon. You see, it's my pet that comes down on a web. Can you imagine what kind of pet I have?
A spider?
Yes, you are halfway there, but that's not the question. The question is, true or false, spooky or kooky, the name of Sammy Terry's pet is Scary Harry. You can ask for help, or you can say spooky or kooky.
Kooky.
Is it spooky? Yes, true. Or is it kooky? No, false. false?
Kooky.
Chloe, what is your answer?
Kooky.
You are correct. It is kooky. For my spider's name is not Scary Harry. My spider's name is... George. And you're going to meet him Halloween night. In fact, in my very opening segment, he talks. What did you say, Chloe?
I hate spiders.
Oh, you have pierced my already cold heart. We'll not tell George that you hate spiders, because he doesn't hardly know that he is a spider. He acts more like a dog. Chloe, are you ready for your second question? Very good. On Halloween night, Sammy Terry is going to present to you a movie, a classic movie from 1968. It's called Night of the Living People. Is that spooky true or kooky false?
Kooky false?
You say that as if you really know that it is. Are you sure? You can always change your answer.
Yeah, I guess.
It's very good to be definitive, because you are right. That's number 2 that you got right. It's not Night of the Living People, it's Night of the Living
Dead.
Very good. You know your horror. Excellent. Are you ready for your third question? Very good. Here it is, and this one may be difficult for you. Spooky yes or kooky no. Sammy Terry's dungeon is in the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. Is that spooky true or is that kooky false?
Spooky?
Are you sure?
Yes.
You are correct. That's number 3 in a row you got correct. Because as I told them earlier, Sammy Terry's dungeon has temporarily been recreated in the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. There you can see my coffin. You can see my stein that I drink my Type O cocktail out of. The original pictures from my dungeon. And of course, George is there making big sticky cobwebs. You know, the cobwebs that when you're walking between trees and they get on your face, you do the I've got a cobweb on my face dance.
Yes.
Very good. Are you ready for your last 2 questions? Number 4 question will be... You have impressed me so much with your knowledge, I've forgotten my number 4 question. Let's make one up. In the 1960s, Sammy Terry came to Indiana. It was a very cold October night that I started to show movies. The very first movie that I ever showed was The Mummy. Is that spooky true or kooky false? Mix of answers out there. Do you think it's spooky true, The Mummy, or kooky false?
Spooky.
You are correct again. It was indeed The Mummy, one of the great classic horror movies of all time. And are you ready for number 5? The year that Sammy Terry first came to WTTV Channel 4 was 1968. Is that spooky true or kooky false?
Kooky.
You're very good. 5 for 5. Put it there. Yes, indeed. It was 1962 that Sammy Terry for... Chloe, where are you going? Well, for your participation today and getting 5 out of 5, you are going to get your choice of any of the DVDs over on Sammy Terry's table there. You see, there's some of the great classic horror movies of all time. Screaming Skull, House on Haunted Hill, Dementia 13, and a whole panoply of other horrifying favorites. So you'll have one with my compliment to take home. Share with your family. Make sure you lock your door. Pull down your blinds. Make sure you're very safe and secure, and get ready for the scare of your life. Thank you very much for playing with me today, Chloe. Give her a round of applause. And I'm so glad all the rest of you were paying attention to help her out. Now, as we experienced on our first show, Sammy Terry has many horrible stories to tell. Are you interested in hearing yet another horrible story? Very good. This one is not too far from home. For you see, each and every year, we have the Indy 500 car race in Indianapolis. And there, many automotive buffs come to watch the race. One such man comes every single year, and he has an interesting story. You see, many years ago, he received a letter from an attorney. The letter had stated that his uncle had passed away over in Italy, and he was the only surviving heir to the massive family fortune that was left behind. So clearly the man was very excited to hear this news, for he had never heard of this long-lost uncle. And the reason being is that this uncle held something very, very nefarious. You see, there was a family curse on the castle where the uncle lived. Perched high over the Mediterranean Sea, the castle rose with mighty windows from the floor to the ceiling. Oh, it was a beautiful old castle with caverns, a dungeon underneath, cliffs down by the water that had the spiral staircase going all the way up to the house. It was a magnificent castle, other than this curse. You see, the curse said that anyone who spent a night in the castle alive would surely never make it to dawn. For you see, everyone would die. In order to get this inheritance, there was a problem. You see, he had to spend that night that no one has ever made it through. So the attorney flew with him all the way over to Italy. They went and they toured the magnificent house, looking at the beautiful carved statues, the gorgeous staircases that went all around, the rooms that were full of books in the library, large fireplaces, and rooms filled with every kind of stuffed bust of animal that had been caught and killed on safari. The attorney explained to him that he would leave him when the sun went down, and if in the morning when the attorney arrived he was yet still alive, he would inherit all of the castle plus all of the family's earnings through the years. So the man bid goodbye to the attorney. He locked the door behind him, and he went to the safest room in the castle. That was the library. Thousands of books from the 35-foot tall walls, covering all the way to the floor. Great first edition books, mighty fireplaces on each and every of the walls. And of course the one wall that faced the ocean was that glass from floor to ceiling. He made a roaring fire in the fireplace. He sat back in a large leather-backed chair and got ready to face the night as the clock struck 10. As the clock struck 11, and then the clock struck midnight. Count with me the chimes of the clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and there was a knock at the door. The man sat in his chair, petrified, thinking should he answer the door or should he not answer the door. For many hours had already passed without any problem whatsoever. He only had to make it till 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, for when the sun rose, he was a rich man. He thought he would not move a bit. 2 minutes went by. 3 minutes went by. And then again, there was a knock at the door. This time, thinking that he had made it through the first knock, and this one wasn't any worse. Perhaps this was the attorney coming back. Perhaps he had forgotten to have him sign a paper or something. So very feebly, he whispered, "Hello," with no response. He thought perhaps he couldn't hear him. Perhaps he was just on the other side of the door, that everything's okay. He didn't hear any horrible noises. So he stood up from his chair. He took 3 steps closer to the door, and he said, "Hello," with no response. He crept even closer. Closer to the door he went. At this point, he could touch the door. Not a shimmer did it make. Until there was another knock at the door. Touching the door, not feeling a force pushing against him, he whispered louder. He stated, "Hello, who are you?" with no reply at all. So his hand slowly went down to the doorknob. He turned that doorknob very slowly. Not a quiver of the door shook. Not one latch unbolted without his hand touching it. And he slowly started to open the door. Slowly he crept back. The massive oaken door bid open. And there on the other side, nothing but blackness. Well, petrified as he was, he stood there looking into the inky blackness, not seeing any standing person there. He whispered again, "Who's there?" with no reply at all. So he took 1 step closer to the blackness of the door. 2 steps closer. He was at the threshold now, about to go over, until he just slowly peeked his head through the doorway and turned his head to the right. And as he did, he saw standing there a 9-foot-tall casket. A beautiful iron casket with a massive lid on it. And it started to teeter-totter back and forth, knobbling itself closer and closer to him. In through the massive door it came. The man stepped back. He took 2 steps back, but yet that casket kept tipping towards him, closer and closer. As it arrived closer to him, his back was now pressed against the glass window. He had nowhere to go. He crept down on his haunches. He was scared. As that large casket started opening its lid, the lid opened further and further, and he saw that there was no one in it, for who was going to be in it was him. And he realized at first, this must be the curse of the castle. I will be killed. I will be smothered in my casket. I'll be dead forever. No one will get it. I'll not be a rich man. What will happen to me? When he reached into his pocket, he had a brainstorm. He thought for sure he knew the answer. He took out a very small box, and as that casket leaned over him, with the lid fully open now, about ready to collapse and engulf him inside, he reached in, he took that small box, he opened it, he took a small pill and popped it into his mouth. As soon as he opened it up and popped it into his mouth, the coffin burst into flames, teetering back and forth, fiery as it was. It falls to the ground, crashing into nothing but a hobble of dust. And there the casket was no more, for you see, he had conquered the curse of the castle. Now many people clap at this point. But they're the ones that realize that wasn't the end of the story. You see, who would have known how he could have conquered that curse? But you can know. For when you go to the Indy 500, you can find that man. You can go up to him and you can ask him exactly how did he conquer the curse of the casket. And he'll take all of that small box out of his pocket. He'll show you what it is, and you can hold it up and read for yourself. Hall's cough drops stop any coffin. And I did tell you it was a horrible story. Very good. And again, being in Indiana, who wants to win some more free stuff? Very good. This one is going to need to get your blood pumping through your fingers a little bit more. For you see, we already established with Chloe here that Sammy Terry was first brought to Indiana in 1962. Therefore, anyone that has a bill in their wallet or in their purse, Any denomination that has a 6 followed by a number 2 is going to get a signed autographed Sammy Terry picture from my table. So if you are one of the first 5 people that have a bill, a dollar, a 5, 10, 20 that has a 6 followed with a 2, I'll take 5 people for free photos. Oh, this is always the scramble when people start moving. And knowing we were doing this in the middle of the darkness, I knew that people would start falling over themselves, rushing for the lights. Oh, the greed in Hoosier Land is just amazing, isn't it? While people are examining the bills in their wallets, I'll remind you that each and every one of you will want to make sure that you frequent the SammyTerryNightmares.com website. It's there that you'll learn all things Sammy Terry and keep up with the horrible happenings around my dungeon. And make sure if you are on the Sammy Terry Facebook fan page that you've clicked the like button. For when you do, you'll find out the special events that are happening with Sammy Terry. For I'd like to see each and every one of you at future events as well. And as I mentioned earlier, in 2014, Sammy Terry will embark on the Sammy Terry Nightmare Carnival Tour. I'll be going to towns all over the state, doing full-blown stage shows, and with my guillotine in hand, you might even lose your head over the experience. So I want to thank on behalf of M.E.L.S. Starlight Drive-In here. And I encourage you all to support your local drive-in, for their conversion to digital is an expensive proposition, but it preserves an Indiana institution and legend here in your community. So thank you very much for coming out and seeing me tonight. I'll still be back here signing autographs and talking to each and every one of you as we start to enjoy the second feature this evening. And always remember, Sammy Terry and George wish you all many pleasant nightmares.
A 6 and a 2.